Hello YouTube. So I've just watched Palsteron's new video talking about the rarity and a bit of movement speed problem we have in the game. And yeah, the TLDR is I cannot agree more with him. And I'm making this video just because I wanted to say some things to this topic too. And because I really think if we want this to be changed, then we need to put it out there even on some smaller channels like mine. So I hope somebody sees this video and this gets some views, because I think we really need to put this topic out there and fix it basically. Yeah. So the rarity problem, I really think we should remove it from the gear and move it. If we want to keep it, then we need to move it somewhere else from the gear. And just like he said, for the example was to move it to your Atlas skill tree. So like this, for example, he was giving an example with these points, and yeah, this is nice. This is certainly much better than having it on the gear, but I think it would kind of force you to take the rarity nodes, which is it does it anyways right now. It kind of forces you to take these rarity nodes because how good rarity is. But I had another idea. I would revive Crucible Trees, if you remember it from PoE 1, if you've actually played it. I would revive Crucible Trees in PoE 2, and I would actually put Rarity on the Crucible Tree, and it would look something like this. At least this was my example I've come up with, but it would go in two lines basically, and one line, the first point would give you like global rarity, and one line would be oriented on normal and magic mobs movements rarity, and the other line would be oriented to rare and unique rarity. So you would still get the rarity, but it would be with a trade-off. And for example, it could say plus 100% rarity from normal and magic and less rarity on bosses or something like that. Yeah, GGG really likes these trade-offs, so I think trade-off here should be fine, because you would be focusing on one or the other, and yeah, you could probably switch it around with some respect points or whatever. This was just my quick idea I've come up with. And yeah, it would be moved on a Crucible tree, just like this example. And it wouldn't have to be necessarily on items, like it was in Crucible, on your weapons and shields. But it could be, for example, still on the Atlas passive tree, but it could be one of these smaller trees, like mechanic specific. It could be like Magic Find, that it would be basically a rework of the Crucible tree, and it would be Magic Find with 8 points, just like these others you would get to choose. And you could at this point probably remove it from this tree. So this was my example, or my idea for Magic Find and item rarity in the game. And this comes from a person that I would say I kind of like I like Magic Find or item rarity more than I dislike it, because yeah, I've had a ton of fun in Calandra League and Affliction League, and what was it, the league where you're ghosting. Yeah, these was the leagues I had really a lot of fun, because just seeing the sheer number of monster shitting out loot basically. But at the same time, these were the leagues where I really felt the most the problem of Magic Find, the trade-off of trade-off of basically having rarity on your items, on your gear, instead of real power. For example, here I could get rarity on the prefix on the ring, or I could get flat elemental damage. Yeah, so you get the point. And yeah, even though I like rarity more than I dislike it, I think it should be completely removed, maybe completely removed from the game right now. Just completely remove it, and or at least remove it from the gear. That is, I think, the minimum we have to do right now is just remove it from the gear. Yeah, a lot of people's gonna be pissed. Yeah, a lot of people's maybe is gonna quit, but those people eventually will come back, and we can basically all enjoy the game on the same level, and we can all enjoy scaling just like the offense and defenses of the build and quality of life, instead of scaling as much rarity and sacrificing your defenses, for example. So I think it would be more interesting, and it would be really more interesting in the early access scenario too, because I think the early access should be for testing things out and really trying to make builds. And yeah, rarity, I think, really kind of removes or shrinks that amount of players that actually do some interesting builds, because all they really want to do right now is just to put rarity on their gear and farm with rarity, and that means that it shrinks the build viability. Yeah, because people just want to get rarity instead of making real power, and that, I think, is the problem, and can be fixed with removing rarity from the gear. And eventually, if we really want to keep rarity, I would place it, as I've said, on the Crucible skill tree. That would be on Atlas, or if we want to make it more, let's say, refined or interesting, we could have our Crucible skill tree for every piece of gear, and you would basically always have some kind of two choices. For example, rings would be the choice of rarity, and by this I'm coming to the problem of movement speed. And yeah, movement speed on boots, if we would move it into the implicit and have the Crucible tree mechanic that would be revolved around implicits on items, we can have one side of the Crucible skill tree that gives you, for example, that gives you just increased amounts of movement speed, like 5, 10, 15, up to 35, and the other side would be giving you just, for example, defenses, or it would give you something more interesting like cooldown reduction for your movement skill. So you can choose to have increased movement speed, or if you can choose to actually have increased cooldown reduction for movement skills. So instead of choosing just increased movement speed, you could use movement skills also in PoE 2, not just in PoE 1. Because this problem, I don't really think it's a problem in PoE 1, because you in PoE 1 have these insane travel skills, and even though if you don't have any movement speed, I remember one time I was playing Berserker with like 10 increased movement speed, so my movement speed was 10, but I had a leap slam and insane amounts of attack speed, and I was traveling through maps like lightning. So yeah, this could be an option for boots, or just keep the Crucible trees in the Atlas and just for rarity, and just give the boots the implicit movement speed and give you some options to increase the implicit. One example would be for some kind of currency that would increase the amount of implicits on your items, or it would be based on item level, or anything basically. But I really think at this moment we really need to put movement speed on the implicit, just like Palsteron says, because yeah, the movement speed is a king. The maps are really big in this game, and yeah, having a movement speed that is as low as 15 like these boots have is really not a play currently. And again, if it's a necessary stat and it's not in the implicit, just like Rarity, it kind of shrinks down the build viability, and movement speed does this I think even a bit more, but it's not apparent enough. Because for example, I would like to use these boots on my last build, and it was life stacking Blood Witch, and I really wanted to try out these boots, but I didn't even get to trying the damage of the ignite from these boots, because as soon as I put it, these 15 movement speed boots instead of my 30 movement speed boots on my character, I felt like quitting. I felt like turning off the game and yeah, giving myself a break, because the 15 and 30 movement speed on boots is night and day completely. So I immediately switched those boots back and didn't really use these. So I think it shrinks down the build viability a bit. And that, in my opinion, sucks. So again, the way I would fix it, putting movement speed on the implicit and putting rarity on the implicit if we want to keep it right now. So basically the every ring would get implicit rarity for now, so people doesn't get pissed that much, and it opens up the prefix or suffix on the rings. And the same with movement speed on boots. And yeah, eventually I would like to see Crucible revived and having actually a Crucible turning your implicits on the items. So yeah, I wouldn't really give it too much power like it had in PoE 1. It was really tedious and it gave a bit too much power to your weapons. But I would simplify it. I would give you like 2 or 3 paths options, and really be it more like increased critical damage or increased crit chance or just increased attack speed, but it would be much more of a increases but not really more multipliers, because yeah, the power creep can get a real problem quite fast too. Yeah, so this is my take on it, and yeah, take from it what you will. I think, at least for me, it is a cool idea, and yeah, the way of implementing it is, it would be the Crucible skill tree design could be one-to-one with PoE 1 basically, and it's just up to GGG what they decide to do with it. Because yeah, in the end, it's their game, and well, I just wanted to say that people really should be more grateful for a company that actually makes the game for gamers and not just for their bank accounts. So yeah, even though I think Rarity is really in a bad spot right now, and even though the boots are basically in the same spot, in my opinion, I'm really grateful for GGG to listen and yeah, make the game we love. But think about it. It's early access. We're testing it, and in 1 year or whenever the game comes out, it's probably gonna be a bit different than what we're playing like right now. So enjoy it for a moment, but think about the future of the game. We really wouldn't like to play Rarity builds for 1 year straight, and yeah, so think about it, please, before you start to get angry about removing item rarity. So, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time, Exiles. Bye-bye.